Hello everyone and welcome. Today's video I've been waiting for this for a long time. So a while ago, go back 2 or 3 cars of mine ago, I used to have a BMW E93, I think the 335, and it had a common issue with cracking alloys. So I've kept the wheels all these years later. I've kept the wheels and I have my friend coming down and he will teach us how to repair cracked alloys like this. So stay tuned, this is going to be a good one. Mr. Tigman. Hello mate. Let's do this.
Do you know, be a bit more introductional?
So here's my buddy Josh, and he is going to demonstrate how we do this. So what are we doing now, my friend?
So to begin with, don't want to contaminate anything, gloves wise, rods, workspace. So all that brake dust, need to get rid of it first.
Okay, and what's in the bucket?
So just, I mean, there's probably a proper method of doing this, but I'm literally using washing up liquid, warm water. We're just going to get it all off, and then obviously we're going to get rid of that oxide layer before we start welding on it anyway. So
okay, sweet.
We prep it like, get rid of the paint, prep it.
Oh yeah, because this is really dirty. Oh,
yeah, you know, covered in, you can't be, you know.
Yeah. It's covered in gunk that's only going to work its way into the weld.
I've done it this way before, you know, I've put it on the bench without cleaning them before, and it's just, you know, you look at your gloves at the end and you're putting that on your rod. And
yes.
What I usually do is I prep with one set of gloves and then weld with another. That's some dirty workmanship.
It's a nasty crack right here.
It's rough. So that's just got loads of beads here on it.
Yeah, that was needed too.
Oh, that's going to be fun then.
Get them both done?
Start with consumables. So
okay.
On here, aluminium wise, you don't want anything bigger than a number 8. So I'm using number 8 for an outside corner on anything aluminium.
Okay.
Butt lap fillet, I'd use no more than probably a 5 or 6.
Okay.
Butt lap fillet.
Butt lap fillet.
So yeah, today obviously we're going to use a 5. So I like using the really small ones, preferably because you can get in the tight spaces, and as well you're not going to have too much of a wandering arc when everything's nice and small.
Okay.
See, I've got wedge collets here, but I'll just use, this is actually my setup. You can see how used it is.
Look how tiny it is.
But they're tiny. It's the same as what we're using here.
Okay.
It's exactly the same. But you can see how much it's been used, and as well, that's with...
That's a bored up little tungsten.
Yeah, so that's with... so I don't know what waveforms you have with that machine, but I use square wave because it's a nicer waveform versus sine versus triangle.
That's beyond me.
Yeah, so well, without getting too in depth, your triangle has, depending on what you set up, you can have a really big cleaning cycle, and then your penetration on the welding part of the cycle is very direct, quick in and out.
Okay.
So if you've got a big area of aluminium that's really dirty, you want to clean it as much as possible, but all that heat is going to cause the welding cycle to go bloop, and maybe
blow
like
through.
Get rid of your puddle and blow it away. Yeah,
okay.
Like, you know, there's
that's some
advanced. It, but triangle will allow you to get in, and you've got to remember to keep looking at the camera, not you. It's hard, isn't it?
No.
So the triangle wave will get you directly straight into the business.
Okay.
Yeah, the whites are
these the ones?
There, yeah. No, that's purples. So they are lasers.
Who?
They're laser.
What's that mean?
Tungstens. So these are an all-round good tungsten.
You better be correct with what you're saying.
Yeah, no, the laser is an all-round good tungsten. A lot of boys use these. They like the preference of using these. I separate myself up still. So for any steels, I use 2% foliated. Not foliated, that's wrong. 2% lanthanated.
Okay.
Foliated is your radioactive tungsten.
Oh, them ones there.
A lot of boys don't like using them. The Americans love them.
I like I like holding them in my mouth sometimes when I'm changing the colours.
Yeah, they're not great. We're all over the place.
We are.
The beers, mate. The beers.
We are. It's the Sunday, so we're just enjoying ourselves,
Right,
having
so
a drink or two.
Let's pick the right one.
You can use mine with a guard, or you can use this.
So, I would rather use mine.
Do you hear that, guys?
Yeah.
I tried to give him the guard and the handle, but people are set in their ways. Don't cuss him. He's accepting the risk. You're accepting the risk.
Well, every day, from what I do, especially with these alley wheels, the guard gets in the way.
Fair enough.
It does.
Yeah.
And you've got to remember all the time where your fingers are.
100%.
That's all it is. Anyway, health and safety is all about consciousness to what you're doing. So if you're conscious, you're going to be safe. If you're an idiot and you're not looking at where you're putting your grinder down, if you're not stopping the grinder before you put it down with no guard in it, it's going to bounce off and hit you.
Amen to
That's
that.
just common sense, isn't it? No, they are lasers.
Yep.
So they are an E3 though, so they're a good all-rounder. They're great. I've used them for a few. I find with aluminium that the laser does go brittle on the end and do splinter a lot quicker than a zirconiated. So I just use a zirconiated. I just always have, always do. They give a great result. So it's preference, and as well, it really matters what machine you're using. Different machines, different inverter welders are all very slightly different. A tungsten's going to react different depending on what you're using. I use a JSIC 315p multi-wave on square wave and zirconiated faultless. Action. So we've obviously got a setup here now that we've been through. We've chosen number 5 cup. We're using a straight collet versus a wedge collet because otherwise the tungsten has a tendency to try and kind of angle off, which can be annoying for gas flow and arc reasons. So, and as well, just when you're I kind of go off the cup a lot when I'm welding aluminium
because you can't quite see the arc.
A bit, it kind of some and some. So you kind of want it centre, makes it easier for reference. With aluminium wheels, I will call it an alley wheel a lot because that's
saying aluminium is really hard to say.
Aluminium is the British way. Aluminum is obviously what they say in America.
Yep.
So I don't know why I said that in an Australian accent, mate. With a genuine wheel, it's going to be a good casting predominantly, or you'd hope. So you're going to want to use something that's a better rod, or you can get away with using something that's a better rod. You could, with a good casting, use 53, 56 rod. Pretty sure that's over, and might be 56, 53. I'm pretty sure it's 53, 56. Should have really looked at this first. And on a bad casting, you're going to want a 40, 43A. So that is something that's got a tiny bit of silicon in the rod itself, and it just helps any impurities in the metal. Makes the process of welding it a bit easier.
Okay.
Gets the puddle going a bit easier. So we have got 40, 43s.
40, 43s.
So that'd be ideal. So gas wise, you're gonna want 100% argon.
100% argon.
Nothing else.
Just 100% argon.
100% argon for doing stainless steel aluminium. I'm sure I will be corrected. Gas flow rates. So you've got your British litres a minute.
Yep.
Litres per minute. So that's gonna want to be no more than about 5 litres a minute, I would say, and in CFH that's 10 CFH.
10 CFH.
So it's very low. You don't want a lot.
What happens if you use too much?
You can actually start manipulating the puddle the wrong way.
Oh.
You can push gas into it, and it's just
not good.
5 CFH work. 10 CFH, 5 litres a minute.
Okay.
I just stay at that.
Hobby World, gas has gone up like crazy. This little bottle here is now £70. People love dogs.
Yeah, they do, man.
First of all, most important, alcohol.
So first of all, you need what's the word? Courage.
Courage, liquid courage.
Liquid courage, and you need a stable hand. This is going to help. To begin with prepping, so I always use
This death machine.
these 3M Cubitron cutting discs are great. They don't bind up with aluminium.
Okay.
Any cheap cutting disc will bind up. I used to use Forma, FORMA cutting discs from Australia, but you can't get them over UK anymore. The import is like 200 quid to ship them over, so it's just divvy. So I use the very expensive 3M Cubitrons. They're great. They don't bind up and they last forever. Then what you're going to want is you're going to want something that you can then blend your welds off with. So these Polyphon Curve flappy discs, they've got a whole curve right the way around.
Oh yeah, look at that.
So you can actually get in the contour specifically for when you're, so like he hasn't really done here, where the bead of the tyre reseats, you need to be able to get in there, and these are perfect for that.
Yep.
So when you're blending that, you know, I use these.
Why can't you leave a big old weld on the inside?
You can here, which I just don't, because that's bad workmanship. That looks bad. Okay. It's just not nice, is it? I mean, it's practical, nice. But it's not. It's functional, but it's not pretty. Yeah. And that's just, you know, you can see that's not a very good weld.
And I guess your bead is where your tyre seals up against it.
And we can see that's not great, and it's not a full pen weld because it started to crackle again already. I use a 2SF for blending over afterwards to smooth out any of the, like the gouges or anything that the flap disc will leave. And then for the tiny little crevices, I use an air tool, which is essentially like a little air drill with these are Rolock. So these just come off. So you've got your paint stripper there, and then you've got a blending pad for afterwards. For creating your bevels, or I don't know what you want to call it, your tape, the tape is on, the prep for
cavity
your cavity, whatever you want to call it. I just call it, you know, I bevel. Yeah. The bevel. I always use a tapered carbide burr because when you lay it in there, you're not causing the tip of that root to be too wide.
Okay.
You're allowing it. You can control it a lot better, and then you can spread it out as much as you want because you're tapered on that. And as well, with the tip being finer than the top part of the burr itself, it's going to be easier for you to control, and it's going to be quicker.
What mask are you using, my friend?
I'm using the 9100 FX with the air-fed
AdFlow
I can't even remember what it's. AdFlow.
It's the AdFlow system.
AdFlow 3M.
Okay.
And she's great.
Yes, she is. I'm going to be using this torn up G502 Speed Class's latest curved welding mask. I've done so many videos for these guys, I know this off by heart. The weld isn't flat, so why should your mask be flat?
True.
You know what I'm saying? So, if anybody wants to sponsor me with a new welding machine, I will be happy to accept it, because this...
I use a Jasic, so...
This has this problem. Look how loud it goes. It's unnecessarily loud for no reason. So, do you want to show us how to set up the machine?
I've never used this machine before, so we'll figure it out.
So, from what I know, turn it on AC.
Yeah, we're on AC. We've got pulse, on that off, we don't know that.
High frequency.
Yeah, high frequency start. You're going to want
trigger.
2T, depending on what, are you on the trigger? Yeah?
Yeah.
So we're going to want 2T, so that's on off.
Don't you like holding the button? And
nah, that's only with doing long runs.
Okay.
4T is click on, click off in it and letting go.
Yeah.
It's not complicate things. So you haven't got a foot pedal for this now?
No, I don't.
Right. Free flow, again, we don't want a lot of that. Second on that.
Second of pre-flow gas.
Not that that really matters for aluminium. Hot start. There's a lot of
settings on this.
Yeah, let's get through. Let's see what we've got. Base current. What does this go up to? 200. 200.
I know it blows at 200.
At 200, yeah.
Yeah. Right, well, no, above 180 it starts to get a bit sticky. Okay,
let's set that at 7.5 then. We just have to
take it. It's only going for a
actually, we're doing a test piece first, so we don't need anything that high. Let's set ourselves at about 1. Yeah, let's do about 1. What are we on? Hot start? I don't know. Shall we try it without? Base. Down slope, we're going to want, again, because it's aluminium, I'm going to want to try and mimic the foot pedal with this. So I'm going to give myself
20-second down slope.
Let's give, because what you want, oh that's seconds, not voltage, isn't it?
Yeah, seconds.
So we're going to want a couple of seconds of downslope, because what that's going to do is that's going to mimic me stepping off the foot pedal.
Yeah.
That way, if the puddle does start to widen out, I can just step off the trigger a little bit, and it will just narrow itself enough as I'm moving and adding another bit of filler.
This will turn off.
Will it?
Yeah. When you ease off, well, by the time you have to push the trigger again, it would have been off and then back on.
Not if you've got enough downslope, it shouldn't.
Let's see. From what I understand, even with the downslope, by you holding it, it starts the downslope. As soon as you take your finger off to turn it back on, it would cancel the downslope, turn it off, and then back on.
Well, maybe that's because you're on 40.
Maybe that's because I'm on 40.
Yeah. So on 2T it should, we'll see what happens, but that's the principle of it. That's how I do when I'm on a recovery bed trying to weld it up, and when it's cracked, that's what I do. I will use the trigger and mimic the foot pedal. If you can't get the foot pedal, sometimes I use the foot pedal on my knee.
Okay.
But yeah, so a couple of seconds on that. And then post flow, we're going to want not a massive amount, probably say anywhere between 3 to 5 seconds. Let's set that about 4.5. You don't need a lot of aluminium, it's only to keep the tungsten cool. You're not having to worry about the workpiece, you'll worry the weld itself, you're worrying about keeping the tungsten, you know, stopping the tungsten going from red hot to cold. You want to bring it down slowly. Okay.
Yeah, that was your balance.
Sorry, so hertz, I'm going to want to be going about 115-ish. I'm just basing this on my machine. Percentage, I'm guessing the percentage of this is the higher, the more cleaning. So we'll see. So I'm trying to think what it would be on the Jasic. So mine's actually gone blank. What would it usually be?
I know mine was 50-50 for that weld I've done up there.
About 30. So we start. I'm going to set that at about. So 20%, I'd say 20% cleaning is a good starting point, because what you're going to get is that's going to get you a nice shiny weld. The lower, if it's cleaner metal, you're going to be even shinier, but the dirtier, you're going to actually start to get a yellow, like, I don't know really how to describe it. It starts to burn the weld a bit, the lower you are on the dirtier the metal are. So as the more cleaning, you'll see it will start to yellow. It's weird. So then the higher you go with your cleaning cycle, it will start to shine out. But you'll find there's a very fine line between, if it's a very clean aluminium, you don't want too much cleaning, because you can actually also mimic that yellow in the other way as well. Okay. So you want to find a happy medium. So we're going to be on clean aluminium. So let's start ourselves at 20 and then we'll go from there. Please clean your stuff and clean your rods. I mean, there's a lot of times where I'm rushing and I don't bother, and you know, you'll just have more of that oxide layer showing where it burns the crap out. So you just want to, again, these, I'm actually using my dirty gloves right now. I do have a clean pair as well that I'll be using, but
yes. Still trying to dial in the machine, but this is my attempt. Literally, I haven't done almost any alloy welding in my life. There's your boy, Calvin's weld right there.
Again, by that point, there's 3 dips in there, as you can see, but you'd already heated the workpiece up, so it was a lot easier for me. That's the best run, isn't it? Well, maybe that.
So what's the verdict on the welding machine?
So that's set up now. We know that we're good welding wise, and that obviously we're still going to have to play about with balance, because this alley wheel is a lot dirtier than this clean coupon. So by the time we've cleaned this out, we're obviously going to be into the centre of the metal. It's going to be better than obviously the outside oxide layer, but still going to need other stuff burning out of it that's seeped in through the years of it being, you know, salt on the roads from the UK.
We have bored them enough with the stats.
Yeah,
let's get onto the wheel.
As you can even see, this has got a crack horizontally across it. I've never seen that before.
A crack on a crack. This is the worst.
It's bad, isn't it?
The worst part.
Right, so what I'm going to do with this first is I'm going to treat it like a new crack. So I'm going to look at the root, and then I'm going to find roughly where the crack would end. So with this, we're just going to call it the end of the weld. We're going to go a centimetre past that, and we're going to drill a hole.
And now, the hole is to?
The hole is to terminate the crack growing anymore.
And the drill hole is like aeroplane windows being circled, so there isn't no individual stress point.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I always use a big drill bit. A lot of boys use a small one. The reason I go bigger is because you want to make sure you're really filling that hole up. If you're using a small drill bit, you're only going to weld over the top of the hole. You're never going to weld to the root.
Cavity inside there.
Exactly, and then that's an issue. That's a point that can crack again. So we're going to go about, you know, 10 mil past. We're going to drill through it like that. Cutting disc all the way down to the where I've drilled it.
Yep.
Can you see how the wheel has moved?
Yeah, look at the alignment there.
The stress. So that was under stress, and there's obviously a slight bend in the wheel, or flat spot, and it's pulled it over. So now, obviously, with a crack in a wheel, you wouldn't have all of this weld on top. So what I'll do is I'll just flat that off with a flap disc, and then what we'll do is we'll then bevel it out like it would be just a crack.
Yes. What I would usually do is that wouldn't exist, so you wouldn't be using that first. You'd be using a stripper wheel to get the paint off, because you'd only have a fine crack. There wouldn't be a previous weld there, 9 times out of 10. So you use these paint stripper wheels. Usually have an area this big. Your crack would usually be, let's call it that cut line, so you'd be about a centimetre each side on your clean up area. You will get a bit of where they weld it before. You can see where it's the paint's burn. Yeah.
You will get a bit of that, but you can clean that off afterwards, and then depending on the colour of the wheel, sometimes I paint them in if they're matte black on the inside.
So you're saying this is basically an extreme worst case scenario?
This is a very worst case scenario for sure, yeah. I mean, you know, I've welded a lot worse. You can drop a load of pictures in on stuff I've repaired on there, and you can see how, you know, how far you can go with these wheels. But, you know,
as a simple repair of a crack, this is
this is a high end crack. They're not usually that deep. So the next step is to use carbide burr on a die grinder, and then we'll basically put a bevel on the cut, so it gives us a nice area to get a root back in there.
You would do all of this for £40 a crack?
Yeah, so obviously we've shown the whole process, so I wasn't whipping through it all, but
yeah,
you know, you will be going flat out to get it done. You get one done in 2.5 hours.
Jeez, but that works out to like less than 20.
No, but think about how many you get done in a day.
True. Me, I wouldn't touch this for less than $80.
Yeah.
A crap. So this here is how it's looking now, ready to be welded up. Bevel both sides, nice big gap. What's that, about 2.5 mil, 3 mil?
Yeah.
That is looking mighty clean, my friend.
Only bulging on the part that was, you know what I mean? So now we'll just do a quick pass over that and now get rid of all of that. What I've done is I've ground off the melt through from the root from the other side, and then what I've done is I've basically given it a pass without filler over the top to get rid of anything that we burnt out from the other side downwards.
Yeah.
And two, all the air bubbles from anything, any crevice from the other side.
Yeah, if you didn't get 100% full pen, there's any cavities or any nonsense.
Yes.
So you just want to get rid of, would you call it air bubbles or inclusion?
You've got all sorts, because these wheels are cast as well, you've got the tiny little air bubbles from the casting process.
Yeah.
And they probably all come together when you start, you know, trying to melt all the crap out. If you try to weld over that, you're going to get air gap. So I'll have to Dremel that back out, the carbide burr, just to get that right, get the root in there again, do you know what I mean? Dremeling that back out with a die grinder, and without even any filler rod, just chasing that out, I've got rid of that whole little crevice in there, that tiny little.
So if you was to leave that, it could turn into a crack.
Yeah, it's a weak spot in the weld.
Yeah, of course. Would you look at that? Is that a repair or is that a repair? And what's the other side saying?
So your other side, you've got a tiny little bit of burn through there. So I could now clean that off, but like before, the tyre won't.
Yeah. But either way, this part here, it's just on the inside. It's here you have to worry about being clean.
Exactly.
So if we weren't so tired and it weren't a late Sunday, you'd spend a little bit more time on it, making it perfect. But
well, the bottom line is you actually would go do that wheel a lot quicker than that. But
We was making the ultimate guide on this. And now we're going to start this crack. No, we're going home.
Scanning the scrap, boy.
Yeah.
That's shit though, really. I don't want to redo that.
What a mirror finish on this. Sorted, now it's finished.
Yeah, that's it.
Smashed it.
What a day.
This guy's Instagram is going to be linked in the bottom. He doesn't want followers, but go follow him anyway. He, is a friend that I met through Instagram and all that sort of stuff. Become a good buddy, and he's come over, taught me in fact how to do this. So it's an entertaining video for you lot, and for me, I'm going to start doing this as a little side hustle. So I'm grateful for that. If there's anything you lot want to say, keep it zip. We don't want to hear how we done it wrong or whatnot. These wheels here, we was going to salvage them, but I think the buckle was a bit too bad, would you say?
Yeah, I'd say that they buckled.
I think they're going to go into the scrap bin. We did forget something. We did forget to
Square them up,
yeah, the two sides, but we could have cut it off and rechanged it, but we was going to throw it in the bin. So yeah, there's that. You got any last comments?
No. So usually any bends anything in the wheels, you ox are settling and straighten first.
Yeah.
Or if you've got a wheel jig, straighten the wheel first, so then cut it.
But that's what we would do if we was going to keep it. But anyway, I hope this video was entertaining, and I'll see you in the next one. Say bye.
Bye bye.